Hashtag Galactic Mega Prison built to contain Deathworlders. They broke out in a day. The perfectly spherical meeting chamber of the Cthar High Council gleamed with spotless surfaces and soft, diffused lighting. Every object was arranged according to Cthar logic, an immaculate pattern of geometric precision that brought comfort to the translucent, spherical beings who congregated there. Their delicate, crystalline bodies contained pulsing lines of light that shifted with their moods as they gently rolled across the polished floor of United Alpha Space Station. Grand Coordinator Zorp positioned himself at the center of the chamber, his internal lights pulsing with a distinct rhythm that signaled distress to his fellow council members. Esteemed colleagues, Zorp began, his voice a melodic hum that resonated at the perfect frequency for Cthar auditory membranes. I have convened this emergency session to address the growing crisis of human-related incidents throughout our jurisdictions. The spherical beings trembled slightly, creating ripples of anxiety that spread across the chamber. Please observe the following records, Zorp continued. A holographic display materialized, showing a human merchant enthusiastically slapping the back of a Cthar diplomat. The impact caused the Cthar to wobble dangerously before colliding with a delicate crystal sculpture. Both the diplomat and the sculpture shattered into thousands of glittering fragments. A priceless Cthar art piece, destroyed by a simple gesture the human described as friendly, Zorp said, his inner lights flickering with indignation. The next recording showed a group of humans gathered around a viewing screen, watching some kind of sporting event. As one team scored, the humans leapt from their seats, pumping fists and shouting in celebration. Nearby, several Cthar rolled frantically to escape as structural vibration warnings flashed throughout the chamber. A Level 3 structural integrity alert triggered by what they called cheering, Zorp explained. The final recording showed a human with tools spread around her, bypassing a series of safety protocols on a power generator. The woman, who they would later know as Mac, worked with casual efficiency, disabling 5 distinct safety measures in quick succession. When questioned, this human stated that our protocols were too slow and that she just needed to fix the generator. Zorp's internal lights pulsed red with alarm. The generator in question was experiencing a minor fluctuation that our systems were designed to correct over 17 cycles to prevent any destabilization. The human fixed it in 3 minutes. Security Supervisor Glar rolled forward, his crystalline body reflecting the chamber's light in sharp angles that indicated his agitation. These creatures are incomprehensible, Glar stated. They move too quickly, create excessive noise, and survive conditions that would shatter any sensible being. They are Deathworlders in every sense of the term. This chaos cannot continue, Zorp declared. We require a permanent solution to protect our order and refinement from Deathworlder unpredictability. With a flourish of his external manipulator fields, Zorp activated a 3D projection of a massive structure orbiting a distant moon. The station was a marvel of Cthar engineering, pristine, symmetrical, and imposing. I present Project Absolute Order, Zorp announced proudly. The galaxy's most advanced containment facility, designed specifically to house human offenders until they can be rehabilitated or deported from Cthar space. The projection rotated slowly, highlighting various security features. Multi-frequency force fields calibrated to cause extreme discomfort to Cthar neural systems, Zorp explained. Sophisticated vibration dampening to prevent even the slightest disturbance. Guard robots that follow perfect logical patrol routes. Psychological compliance protocols that no rational being could resist. Glar rolled closer to the projection, his lights pulsing with approval. The 16 layers of security are impenetrable. No being could possibly breach even the first 3, let alone all 16. From the back of the chamber, a smaller Cthar with soft blue internal lights rolled forward hesitantly. Cultural Liaison Philippe's voice was barely audible as he spoke. Perhaps we might consider investigating the root causes rather than merely containing the symptoms. Understanding human physiology and psychology could lead to more effective. We cannot understand chaos. Fleep, Zorp interrupted dismissively. We can only contain it. Your suggestion is noted and dismissed. Fleep's lights dimmed as he rolled backward, his concerns unaddressed. The cost will be substantial, Galar noted, but the technological achievement will stand as a testament to Cthar ingenuity and order. The council voted unanimously to approve the project. Construction began. Immediately, proceeding with Cthar meticulousness, slow, methodical, and absolutely perfect. 17 months later, Superintendent Cthal rolled proudly through the gleaming corridors of the completed Absolute Order Detention Facility. Every surface shone with immaculate cleanliness. The wide hallways accommodated Cthar rolling patterns with mathematical precision. Soft blue force fields emitted a gentle hum as they sealed off restricted areas. A symbol of Cthar order and reason, Cthal murmured appreciatively, internal lights glowing with pride. The perfect environment to rehabilitate chaotic Deathworlders. At that moment, in a bustling marketplace on United Alpha Station, Mackenzie Jones, known to her friends as Mac, was elbow-deep in the control panel of a malfunctioning automatic door. "Come on, you stubborn thing," she muttered, rewiring connections with practiced ease. "Just a little bypass here, and—" Mac was interrupted by the soft humming approach of a Cthar security contingent. 6 perfectly spherical guards surrounded her, their internal lights pulsing with official patterns. Human designation Mackenzie Jones, the lead security Cthar announced. "You are being detained for unauthorized system modification. Please remain stationary while restraint fields are calibrated." Mac looked up from her work, confusion crossing her face. "I'm just fixing your door. It was stuck and people couldn't get through." "Unauthorized modifications are strictly prohibited," the Cthar repeated, activating a complex energy restraint device that slowly expanded around Mac. Official maintenance was scheduled for next 7th cycle. "But that's a week away. People need to use this door now," Mac protested as the restraint field enveloped her. She examined the shimmering energy with professional interest. "Hey, this is pretty neat. How does it work?" "Some kind of modulated containment field with neural inhibitors." The Cthar security team did not respond to her technical questions as they escorted her to a transport vessel. Across the station in the Xenobotany lab, Dr. Elena Petrova, Lena to her colleagues, was examining a sample of alien plant spores through a microscope when she felt a tickle in her nose. Achoo. The sneeze was sudden and loud in the quiet laboratory. Almost instantly, alarms began to wail. Red lights flashed as a mechanized voice announced, "Biohazard alert. Potential contamination detected. Security protocols engaged." Lena blinked in surprise. "It was just a sneeze," she explained to the Cthar security team that rolled in with remarkable speed. "A natural human reflex. There's no contamination. Our sensors have detected potentially harmful biological particles dispersed at high velocity," the lead security Cthar stated. "You will be contained until a full decontamination can be performed." As Lena was escorted away, still trying to explain the concept of sneezing to the uncomprehending Cthar, the first transport carrying Mac was already approaching the Absolute Order facility. Mac whistled low as they docked. "That's quite a setup you've got here. Over-engineered if you ask me, but impressive." Superintendent Cthal was waiting at the intake area, internal lights pulsing with formal patterns. "Welcome to Absolute Order Detention Facility, human prisoner. I am Superintendent Cthal. You will now undergo processing according to procedure 7293 Alpha." What followed was the most tedious, meticulous, and unnecessarily complex intake procedure Mac had ever experienced. Biometric scans were performed 3 times in succession. A detailed inventory was taken of her possessions, with each item being cataloged, scanned, and stored with ceremonial precision. Her identity was verified through 17 different methods. "Is all this really necessary?" Mac asked after 2 hours of processing. "I was just fixing a door." "Precision and thoroughness are essential components of rehabilitation," Cthal explained. "Step precisely onto the yellow circle for decontamination spray." By the time Mac was finally assigned to his cell, Lena had arrived and was beginning her own processing ordeal. The two humans caught sight of each other as Mac was being escorted down a corridor. "What are you in for?" Mac called out with a grin. "I sneezed," Lena replied, unable to contain a laugh at the absurdity. "Silence during transit," Thal admonished, though the reprimand had no effect on either human. Mac's cell was spacious by prison standards, with a bed that was clearly designed for a being that had no concept of human anatomy. The walls were a soothing pale blue, and a transparent force field served as the fourth wall, looking out onto a wide corridor. Mac immediately began examining every inch of the space, running her fingers along seams in the wall panels and tapping on various surfaces to test their composition. "Interesting design choices," she muttered, discovering a loose panel near the floor. "Hello, what's this?" Meanwhile, Lena was being escorted to an adjacent cell. As soon as the Kthar guards rolled away, she approached the force field that separated her from the corridor. "Hello," she called out. "Mac, can you hear me?" Loud and clear. Mac's voice came from the cell next door. "These force fields don't block sound at all. Actually, they're generating a really annoying hum. Can you hear that?" "Yes, it's like an old refrigerator," Lena agreed. "I think it's supposed to be some kind of deterrent, but it's just mildly irritating." "I found something interesting in my cell," Max said quietly. "A loose panel with access to some kind of conduit. I think it might be part of the force field power system." "Should you be messing with that?" Lena asked, though her tone suggested more curiosity than concern. "Probably not," Mac replied cheerfully. "But what are they going to do? Put me in prison?" Over the next few days, more human prisoners arrived. Sergeant Marcus Cole, Sarge to everyone, was brought in for public disturbance after laughing too loudly at a comedy show in a designated quiet zone. A chef was detained for using unauthorized spices in his personal meal. A musician was arrested for creating destabilizing sound frequencies while practicing her instrument. As the human population grew, so did their adaptations to prison life. Mac established a rudimentary communication network between cells by slightly modifying the frequency of the force fields. Lena began categorizing the microscopic space dust that the Kthar filtration systems missed, treating it as an impromptu research project. Sarge organized light exercise routines in the common area, much to the alarm of the vibration sensors. The chef complained constantly about the bland nutritional substance provided as meals and began experimenting with ways to hack the food synthesizers for better flavor. They shared food, played cards with makeshift data cards, and told jokes that regularly triggered noise alarms. In his control room, Superintendent Thal watched with growing confusion as his reports filled with anomalous prisoner behavior. The humans were cooperating instead of fighting, building instead of destroying, and cheerfully communicating with the guard robots, which never responded, being programmed only to follow precise patrol routes. The force fields designed to cause discomfort seemed to have no effect beyond making the humans occasionally scratch their ears. The vibration dampening systems were constantly triggered by ordinary human movement, and the noise restrictions were ignored completely. Thal sent increasingly bewildered reports to the High Council. Detained subjects are not responding according to predicted psychological models. They appear to be enjoying themselves. Grand Coordinator Zorp dismissed these concerns. "This is merely a sophisticated form of Deathworlder psychological resistance. Maintain protocols." Security Supervisor Glar added, "Their apparent contentment is a ruse. No being could possibly be comfortable in a facility designed to be intolerable." But the reports continued, becoming more alarming by the day. On the morning of the 7th day, as Mac was examining the food synthesizer in the common area, the machine emitted a series of sparks before shutting down completely. "Well, that's not good," the chef commented, looking disappointed. "I was just starting to get it to make something resembling coffee." "Did you try to hack it again?" Mac asked, already removing the access panel. "Just a small adjustment to the flavor parameters," the chef admitted. Mac peered inside the machine, assessing the damage. "Looks like you fried the main control circuit. I could fix it, but I need parts from outside." Sarge, who had been listening nearby, stretched, and stood up. That's it then. I have things to do, and I can't waste any more time in this ridiculous place. Who wants to leave? The assembled humans looked at each other, then back at Sarge. Are you suggesting a prison break? Lena asked, raising an eyebrow. I wouldn't call it a break exactly, Mac interjected, closing the synthesizer panel. More like an unscheduled departure. I bet I could open the main door in 10 minutes. The humans gathered around as Mac explained what she had discovered about the facility's systems through her examinations of the loose wall panels and her observations of the guard robots' patterns. The force fields have a fundamental design flaw, she explained. They're calibrated for Cthar nervous systems, not human ones. A strong enough impact at the right point, she demonstrated by slapping the wall hard at a specific junction, causing the lights to flicker momentarily, disrupts the field temporarily. And the robots? Someone asked. They follow the same route every time, Sarge answered. Just step aside when they come through. They're not programmed to deviate or respond to anything unexpected. What about the doors? Lena inquired. Matt grinned. They use the factory default security codes. Apparently, Cthar don't consider that anyone would disobey the rules enough to need actual security. With a plan quickly established, the humans moved into action. Mac disabled the force fields in their section by creating a short circuit at a junction point she had identified earlier. Sarge led them through the corridors in an organized fashion, timing their movements to avoid the predictable paths of the guard robots. When they encountered locked doors, Mac simply removed the control panels and crosswired the circuits, or in some cases, entered the default code that the Cthar had never changed. Vibration alarms and noise detectors wailed constantly, but since they had been triggering false alarms since the humans arrived, they were largely ignored by the system. In the control room, Superintendent Cthal watched in horror as security indicators across the facility map switched from green to red. The guard robots continued their programmed routes, rolling past the escaping humans without registering their presence. Every attempt to activate ultimate security measures failed or was immediately circumvented. Impossible, Cthal exclaimed, his internal lights flashing in patterns of extreme distress. The systems are impenetrable. 16 layers of security. On a direct communication channel from United Alpha Station, Glar was equally astonished. This cannot be happening. The facility is perfect. They must have outside help or a secret Deathworlder technology. The group of human prisoners, about 36 in total, walked calmly toward the main gate and shuttle bay of the prison. They didn't run or sneak. Some even stopped to chat or point curiously at Cthar devices along the way. In the shuttle bay, they found several maintenance shuttles left unattended, as the Cthar had assumed no one could possibly reach this area. Matt quickly went to work, starting them up. These are pretty straightforward, she commented, examining the controls. Basic propulsion, navigation system, life support. Nothing fancy. Can you fly them? Lena asked. Sure, Mac replied with a shrug. It's not that different from the research vessels I used to maintain. Everyone group up, about 6 to a shuttle. Before departing, they left a message for Cthal on a datapad near the bay entrance. Thanks for the temporary accommodation. Food needs improvement. Goodbye. Superintendent Cthal, his crystalline form now dim with despair, delivered his report on the systemic Omega-level compliance failure incident to the Cthar High Council. His normally melodious voice was flat and monotone as he detailed the complete security breakdown. All 16 security layers were breached. 37 human prisoners escaped in 6 maintenance shuttles. No personnel were injured, though several door control panels were irreparably damaged. Grand Coordinator Zorp and Security Supervisor Glar were in a state of shock. Glar insisted that the system couldn't have failed, that there must have been outside interference or a secret Deathworlder weapon. The facility was perfect, Glar maintained, his internal lights pulsing erratically, designed according to all Cthar security principles. Therein lies the problem, came a soft voice from the entrance to the council chamber. All the Cthar turned to see Cultural Liaison Fleep rolling forward, accompanied by 3 humans, Mac, Lena, and Sarge. What is the meaning of this? Zorp demanded, his spherical form trembling with indignation. Security. Detain these escaped prisoners immediately. Actually, Fleep interjected, his voice stronger than usual. They have requested this meeting through proper diplomatic channels. They arrived at United Alpha Station an hour ago and formally requested to speak with management. The humans stepped forward, with Sarge taking the lead. "We're not here to cause trouble," he stated firmly. "We just wanted to explain a few things about your prison that you might want to know before you waste any more resources on it." After a tense moment, Zorp reluctantly agreed to hear them out. They relocated to a neutral meeting room, with a Federation mediator present to facilitate the discussion. "You stand accused of sabotage and dangerous prison escape," Zorp began once everyone was settled. Mac raised her hand. "Point of clarification, we didn't escape. We just left. The doors weren't locked very well. 16 layers of security." Glar protested. "The most advanced containment technology in Cathar space." "Yes, and it was very impressive," Lena acknowledged diplomatically. "But it was designed for Cathar, not humans." "What do you mean?" Zorp asked, confused. Mac took over the explanation. "Your force fields are calibrated to cause neural discomfort to Cathar. Sensory systems. To us, they just make an annoying humming sound that's easy to ignore. Your robots follow predictable patterns that never deviate," Sarge added. "So we just stepped out of their way. And your entire security system relies on psychological compliance," Lena continued. "It expects detainees to follow rules simply because they are rules. Humans tend to see rules more as suggestions, especially when we're being held for things we don't consider actual crimes. Like fixing a door," Mac interjected. "Or sneezing," Lena added with a small smile. Sarge leaned forward. "Look, what you built was essentially a perfect prison for Cathar, not humans. You projected your own vulnerabilities and thought patterns onto a completely different species. The Cathar Council members were silent as the reality of their fundamental miscalculation became clear. They had indeed built the perfect prison for themselves." "Let me explain a bit about human physiology," Lena offered, shifting into her role as a biologist. "What you call harsh conditions, we call Tuesday. Humans evolved on a planet with extreme temperature variations, constant microbiological threats, predators, and natural disasters. We're built to adapt and overcome. It's not that we're trying to be difficult, it's just how we're made. And our problem solving isn't meant to be disrespectful," Mac added. "When we see something broken, we fix it. It's almost instinctive." Cultural liaison Fleep rolled forward slightly. "This is precisely what I attempted to convey when the project was first proposed. Understanding between species cannot be achieved through containment, only through communication." Zorp's internal lights shifted to a pattern indicating deep thought. "We have committed a grave error in judgment," he finally admitted. "We attempted to solve a cultural misunderstanding with isolation rather than engagement." "So what do we do now?" Glar asked, still somewhat bewildered by the turn of events. "I had a proposal," Lena said. "Instead of trying to contain humans, why not establish joint human-Cathar working groups to draft practical interaction guidelines? We can better understand each other's needs and limitations." "Yes," Fleep agreed enthusiastically, his lights brightening. "We could organize cultural exchange workshops. Introduction to Deathworlders 101 for Cathar and Etiquette for Delicate Crystalline Beings for Humans." "And what of the Absolute Order facility?" Thal asked, still somewhat dismayed by the spectacular failure of his prison. Mac looked thoughtful. "It's actually a pretty impressive structure, just used for the wrong purpose. It could be converted into a joint research center for biological adaptability studies." She glanced at Lena, who nodded in agreement. "Or maybe an experimental free trade zone." She grinned. "Just for fun." Over the next few hours, they outlined a new approach to human-Cathar relations based on mutual understanding rather than containment. Fleep was recognized for his early warnings and appointed to head the new cultural communication program. As the meeting concluded, Zorp extended an external manipulator field in the Cathar equivalent of a handshake. After a moment of hesitation, Sarge reached out and carefully completed the gesture. "We have much to learn from each other," Zorp acknowledged, his voice humming with a new frequency of respect. As Mac, Lena, and Sarge left the meeting room, Sarge shook his head in disbelief. I still can't believe they spent billions of credits on that prison. At least the ventilation system was pretty good, Mac commented with a laugh. And the sterile environment was ideal for cultivating samples, Lena added thoughtfully. They looked at each other, sharing the understanding that coexistence between species would always be full of surprising challenges and occasionally expensive mistakes. You know what the funniest part is? Max said as they walked toward the docking bay. I bet if they just asked us to stay put and explained why fixing doors without permission was a problem, most of us would have complied. True, Lena agreed. Communication before containment might have saved everyone a lot of trouble. And several billion credits, Sarge added with a chuckle. As they boarded their shuttle, Mac glanced back at the Cathar station. Do you think they'll actually change, or just build a stronger prison next time? I think they'll try to understand, Lena said optimistically. After all, they're logical beings. And logically, understanding is more efficient than perpetually rebuilding prisons we keep walking out of. Sarge nodded. Besides, I think we made our point. Next time, build a prison that's actually meant for the prisoners. The shuttle departed from United Alpha Station, leaving behind a group of crystalline beings with a newfound appreciation for the complexities of interspecies relations and a clear understanding that when it comes to containing Deathworlders, conventional wisdom simply doesn't apply.